Listen to me. I've got you. I won't let go.
What was it about Titanic that intrigued you both?
Well, I think it's different for John and myself. I mean, I love deep ocean exploration. I've been a fan of it, and I had worked with some deep ocean technology on the Abyss a few years earlier. So for me, what got me hooked personally was the opportunity to go dive that wreck and to film it for a movie, for a narrative story. And then, I had to come up with some kind of a story, so the studio would go along with it and I'll do a love story, you know. But one thing sort of led to another. And then, of course, there was a moment in time in 1995 where we had all that footage in the can from the wreck. Okay, now I got to go make the whole rest of the film, the other 97% of the movie. It's like, shit, I better get serious here.
For me, I had the advantage of reading what Jim calls a scriptment, which is one of the first phases that Jim writes in. Think of it as a short story where some scenes are broken out into dialogue. And I got to read his vision of what this movie was going to be. And when you get to that end scene with Jack and Rose in the water and the sense of loss that you feel, but the movie goes on to show that Rose lived a full and rewarding life. Mm-hmm. That, to me, is such an important message to get out to the world, that no matter what our situation is today, that like Rose, I can get out of the frigid waters of the Atlantic and have a fulfilling and happy life.
Yeah, I was kind of joking around, trivializing the whole kind of storytelling process there, but I really did some research before I wrote it. I read one book in particular called Reviving Ophelia, which is really about young females becoming young women at that cusp of puberty, really, and then shortly after, where they become kind of socialized to a set of restricted roles. And whereas when they're younger, their imaginations run free, they feel like they can do anything. And I wanted to tell a very particular story about a woman breaking out of that societal straitjacket. And so literally, I mean, the funny thing was, as written, the scene where she's being tightened into her corset by her mother, originally it was the other way around. And I smacked myself in the forehead and I said, no, it's got to be the mother tightening the corset on her, because that's society, that's expectation, that's all that, so it was very, very targeted at young women and trying to offer them a sense of empowerment. And I think that, the media kind of trivialized, the result is, 14-year-old girls love this movie because of Leonardo. What we're finding out, what I said at the time was, well, I think that's part of it. Yeah, we got very lucky with Leonardo. He was a major heartthrob, right? But that's not what was really happening in that film. And that's been proven out over time. We're 25 years later. Leonardo is not a guy that's on the average 12-year-olds or 14-year-old females' radar at all. He's that guy that was in those movies. You know what I mean? But it's still one of the most popular films with girls of that age, for a reason, because it's about that sense of, I can be who I want to be. I don't have to be what everybody expects me to be. And I think that's an important and a timeless message. So I'm proud of the fact that the film prevails through time, quarter of a century now, because of that. And the sort of pop culture iconicity of it is now kind of more a thing of the past.
How did you settle on the casting of Leo and Kate? Because I know over the years I've read lots of alternative potential casting for Titanic.
We never really got serious with anybody else. Names came up, I did a few meetings, but it didn't get down to a foot race. Names have been thrown out. We don't have to reiterate that. But when I tested with Kate, and we did it as a full-up audition and shooting in 35 millimeter with a proper period set, she was so luminous. It was instantaneous. It's like, okay, it's Kate. And she was, really desperate to make the film. She really felt she had something to say with that movie. So that was the easy one. Then we started asking, young actors to come in and read with Kate. We came to Leo, I think, fairly quickly. It wasn't like I went through hundreds and hundreds of people. And Baz Luhrmann allowed me to look at some scenes from Romeo and Juliet, because we were a little concerned that Leo had only done, these kind of afflicted characters, right? Of different types of drug addict and somebody with some kind of mental impairment and, different things like that. And so I wanted to see, could he be a leading man? And he didn't really want to test, but I talked him into just doing a cold reading with Kate. And he agreed, and it just came to life right in front of my eyes. It was like, that's the movie. Okay, good. I got my guy. Then I had to sell Leo to 20th Century Fox. They didn't want to spend the money. I'm like, guys, trust me on this. And they said, well, show us the audition. I can't. We didn't shoot it. What do you mean you didn't shoot it? Well, Leonardo only did it if I didn't shoot it, right? So it took some tap dancing to get that deal set. And then I had to talk Leonardo into it, because he wanted more affliction. He was like, he knew that from all his other characters that had gotten so much acclaim. And I said, he's not afflicted in any way. That's the challenge. When he finally understood that was, in fact, maybe one of the biggest acting challenges he'd done to date, when you take away all the crutches and the props, then he leaned into it, and he was ready to show up and do battle as an actor.
Have you ever thought, I wish I let Jack live?
No, he needed to die. It's like Romeo and Juliet, right? It's only poignant. It's a movie about love and sacrifice and mortality, right? So the love is measured by the sacrifice. Now, maybe I didn't do it in a way that everybody agrees with, but Jack had to die. It's that simple. If I had to make the raft a little bit smaller, I'll make it smaller.
John, I was obsessed with Jim's work already, because I loved The Abyss and I loved T2, and I was 10 years old and I saw a clip from Aliens on TV and I wanted to see it. But I remember reading in movie magazines, there was so much talk about the budget of this movie, being astronomical at the time. What was the biggest challenge of having that weight going into the theaters with this big budget?
As we were going through the process of making the movie, Time Magazine came out with an article with headlines, glub, glub, glub.
Yeah, glub, glub, glub.
Variety started something, Titanic Watch, about the demise of the ship. And I think it was just, us keeping focused on doing what we knew was going to be a strong movie. We could never have predicted the box office, right?
No, we couldn't have predicted that. I think there was a certain point in time where we knew we had a strong film that played well and was emotional, but that doesn't guarantee box office. It was really egregious what the media did. They went after us in a way that I don't think has ever happened with any other movie. They tried to make us into Waterworld. They tried to make us into a dismal failure. And the arrogance that they thought they could do that, sight unseen of the movie. But, we just kind of stepped aside, like a matador steps aside, and let the bull run by, because we stepped out of the July release window and we moved into a Christmas window. It's like, okay, motherfuckers, now come up with a new story, different story, right? And it worked. Lo and behold, it worked. We were actually judged on the merits of the movie. But what they tried to do was pretty unprecedented, and I don't think we've seen too many cases of it since. I mean, yes, when movies are bad, you can criticize them. But when you haven't seen it yet, and you're waiting around sharpening your knives, I think if I had it to do over again, I would have done it exactly the same, because all of that negativity strangely made us into an underdog, and gave people permission to celebrate the film, which obviously in the awards season, we were celebrated in so many ways. I don't think we would have gotten that if we weren't perceived as, okay, we got all the negative stuff out of the way. Now it all gets mooshed together. When a movie comes out, all of your misgivings about a big commercial film or a big expensive film get all mooshed in at the same time with whatever merits the film has and whatever positive criticism there might be. But here it was kind of sorted out by fate into two piles. There was a pile of all the negativity, and then there was a pile of all the positivity. And I don't think that'll ever happen again.
Who wrote the negative articles and did all this stuff had never visited the set, had never read the script, had never seen a foot of dailies. There were other people who had come down. They held their stories because they saw the potential of what was there. And Jim said to me at one point during this, he said, Jon, everybody's betting against us. We have to work our asses off to prove them wrong.
I had a razor blade that I taped with a piece of masking tape to the monitor of my Avid, and with a little note that said, use in case film sucks. Because I wanted to be reminded every single day when I sat down in the cutting room that we were playing for all the marbles here. And honestly, at the time, I thought, okay, I'm probably never going to make another movie or be trusted with another movie or another big budget movie. But the least I can do is go down swinging with a good film. You know, so that it created this weird psychology that was at once kind of gloom and doom. And on the other hand, there was a tenacity to just make it the best film that it could conceivably be.
Open your eyes.
I'm flying! Jack!